Hello and welcome to episode 166 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet in my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is December 12th, 2022. Today I'm wearing one of the Haramaki, that's a Japanese word for, I think belly warmer is the English word, but you can also wear it around the neck or you can wear it around your head. And it's something that Martina Umemura, a German who lives in Japan, has made popular by writing a book about it. But unfortunately, that book is no longer available. But anyway, so Haramaki, the belly warmer is just a straight tube. And if you make it big enough to go around your hips, you can wear it as a belly warmer or as a short skirt, which I sometimes do. Or you can just wear it like a loop scarf or cowl the way I did. If you turn it inside out and you pinch it in the middle and you pull one end over the other, you can make a hat. If you knit a Haramaki in a 4-ply yarn, it sort of makes sense, but with this thick yarn, it's actually more a helmet than a hat. So I don't really ever wear it like that. But what you can do is when you wear it around your neck, you can just pull one half over your head as a hat or just to warm your ears. So yeah, that's really nice. The knitting is really simple. With this one, I did a few rounds of ribbing at both ends, and the rest is knit in stockinette stitch. And the interesting thing about this Haramaki is the yarn choice, because this is the what we call 8-ply sock yarn, and it's double the thickness of the 4-ply of the normal sock weight yarn. And in this part of the Haramaki, I use 2 strands. I use the colorful one and one strand of white. And I really like the effect of using a white yarn with a colorful yarn. I just love the way the colors get sort of a bit muted. And the interesting thing is that this colorful yarn was one of the subscription yarns. So you can have a subscription with Opal and you get 4 times a year you'll get a box with 6 balls of yarn, but you don't know which colors you're getting. And sometimes these are just one-off colors that never reappear, and sometimes the colors come back in a like one of those series, one of the colors that Opal sells, and then you can get more of the yarn. But with this color, it became one of the colorways in the 8-ply yarn. So I was able to knit this 1-strand 8-ply yarn and this half the same color 4-ply yarn held double with white. And I just love the way the colors are the same and even the stripes are more or less the same. And it's just the white gets added to it in this half, and I really, really like that a lot. Yeah, so the next subscription box should come this week, and I usually do an unboxing video, but I only do it in German because I can't unbox the yarn twice. And I could probably do a translation of the video, but so far I've never done it. If you're just interested in the colors, you can watch the German video and just see the colors and listen to me speak in German. So anyway, that's the Haramaki that I was wearing as a cowl today. And the cardigan I'm wearing is a pattern by HDDC is her label, and it's Heather Griffin, I think. It's linked down below, and the pattern is called Allsorts, Cardigan Allsorts, and I test crocheted the pattern for her, and I really like this cardigan a lot. So she's the queen of granny squares, so almost all her designs feature some granny squares. So the front and the back of this cardigan are really simple. It's just granny squares crocheted together, and the cardigan is, I think, yeah, it's 3 squares wide in the back, and in the front you only have the 2 squares because the middle square sort of is missing. But the other interesting thing about this cardigan is that The back is 4 squares high, so this is basically still part of the back, and then the front is 3 squares high, which means the middle square in the back really sits up high in the neck and makes for a really nice warm neck. And then the sleeves are just crocheted onto the front and backs, and then the last step to do are the sort of ribbing that were crocheted afterwards, but you crochet it onto the garment, not like this, but I crocheted like this. It's like a knitted on edge, is how the ribbing was attached to the cardigan. And the yarn I used is another or 2 other colorways of the 8-ply sock yarn, and it's held double throughout the cardigan, but for the first 3 rounds of every granny square I use 1 strand of blue-gray yarn and 1 strand of very colorful yarn together. And then the 4th and 5th round of the squares and the ribbing and the sleeves, I was just holding the blue-gray yarn double. So that's how I achieved the different color effects. And it's really very warm, this cardigan. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, so that's, oh, by the way, if you want to get the pattern for the cardigan, you can go through my Ravelry link, the way you can usually do with all my projects. But I also have a affiliate link to Heather's homepage, where she also sells her patterns in the info box below the video. So if you go through that and you get one of her patterns, then I get a very small percentage of the price, but it won't make it more expensive for you. So it's the same price whether you go through that link or completely differently. Yeah, so that's what I'm wearing today. Then on to finished objects. I have 3 finished objects and 3 new cast-ons, so that's good today. And one of the new cast-ons is also a finished object again. But the first finished object I want to show you are the Icelandic socks. They were from the book Icelandic Socks. And I knit those sort of as an experiment, because she was saying in the book that if you use this yarn or a yarn like that, I used the 6-ply sock yarn, and she said to use 2.5mm needles and 48 stitches. And she said you could knit any size just by adjusting the length. So at first I wanted to knit socks that fit me, but I found that after I put in the heel, they were just too tight around here. So I made them shorter. They're now European size 32, 33. So in Germany, that would be considered a kid's size. In Japan, that would be a small adult size. Yeah, but I'm sure I'll find someone who likes the socks and who can wear them. And I'm quite happy they're finished. And now I can look for another pair out of that book, because there are a lot of very beautiful colorwork socks in the book. And the next pair I want to knit will be knit with some sort of colorwork. So that's number 1. Then the second finished object is the little scarf I knit for my grandmother-in-law. She asked me for a little shawl, like a little scarf like this. And the trick about this scarf is that you can put one end through the other side. Whoops. So this is the bit I showed you last week. I first knit this leaf-like end, then this is knit doubled, so it has a front and a back and you can push something through. Then you knit the main body of the scarf, and then on this half I just decreased to half the stitches, knit a bit of ribbing, and then increased again, and I knit the other end, which again looks sort of a bit like a leaf. And then all she has to do when she wants to wear it, she can put it around her neck, and then you just pull the second end through here, and you have a little scarf that will stay in place and should keep her nice and warm. And so that's finished, and I'll give it to her on Christmas, and I hope she'll like it. So that's finished object number 2. And number 3 is another hat. So I've been knitting quite a few hats. And one reason was that I wanted to have more men size and colored hats in the shop in case somebody wants to buy a hat. But I also want to send some hats to Japan to my brothers. So this is going to be one of them. And this is the Snap Hat by Tin Can Knits. And the Snap Hat uses 4 strands of yarn held together. So it's fairly warm and thick. But I love the way that you can play with color when you have 4 strands of yarn. So I started off with 1 black and 2 dark gray and 1 colorful, dark colorful, but still colorful. And then at some point I used another colorful yarn instead of one of the dark grays. Then the black was just, I finished the yarn rest I was using, and then so I just kept changing colors either if one of my leftover yarns was gone, or if I thought I want another change, so I changed colors. And then in the end it was a fairly light hat, and I hope it will fit one of my brothers and they will like it. And now that I've finished knitting all the hats I wanted to knit, I can send the parcel off. And I did finish another hat, which is not officially a finished object of mine, because this is a hat that my sister started knitting. I think 2 years ago she knit a lot of hats that sort of looked as if they had cat's ears. I think we showed that in last year's video that we did together, and I think this was supposed to be one of them. So she or maybe not, because she was knitting ribbing the whole way, and I think with the cat hats she only did a bit of ribbing, and then she went to stockinette, and then she just did a 3 needle bind off, something like that, so it had a straight edge, and if you put it on it sort of looks like cat's ears. But this one she knitted in ribbing, so I'm not quite sure what she planned on doing with this. But when I said I was trying to get enough hats to send to our brothers, she said, oh, I still have that hat that isn't finished. So she gave it to me, and I just added a few centimeters of ribbing, then did the decreases, and yeah, and it's another finished hat. And this one used 2 strands of the 6-ply. So the thickness would be like 3 strands of the 4-ply. So the hats that I knit, 2 of them had the 4-ply yarn held double. This is like the 4-ply yarn held triple, and then the Snap Pad has 4 strands of the 4-ply yarn. So they get slightly different colors and different thicknesses and bit of different styles. So yeah, there should be something that they like, I hope. Anyway, so these are all the finished objects that I can show you today. Then on to works in progress, and as usual I start with my socks, and I finished the first sock for him. So these are his socks. It's his pair of my sock couple that I knit every year and give away for Christmas. And last week I think I almost finished knitting the leg of the sock. I decided to do a different heel than with her sock. So this is not the heel that's in the pattern, but I'll explain more about the differences next week when I'm planning on having this pair finished by next week, because otherwise I can't send it off before Christmas and still show it on the video. So this has to be finished by next week. Here you can see the pattern has these, you start off with the ribbing and that goes down to here, but then from here these sort of welts keep growing out, and when they go round the whole sock, that's when you put in the heel, and then for the foot you just repeat those stockinette and reverse stockinette welts, and then I put in my favorite toe, and I started the second one. And I finished the ribbing, and I've just started the pattern. Let's see. Here we go. So that's sort of the first of those reverse stockinette welts. And yeah, so I have a lot to knit. So this week will be sock knitting week. So I can finish that. I can show it to you next week, and then I can send them off. The next sock or the next stocking is my knee-high sock. I still haven't finished the first one, but I finished the yarn I was using. So this wasn't a full ball of yarn, it was just a leftover yarn that I started knitting with. When I started the sock, I wasn't quite sure whether I would stick to the same background color or whether I would change it. And now I decided, I've used so many different leftover yarns. With the colorful yarns, I'll stick to the same main color for both stockings. And I do want the ribbing to be a bit longer because I want to be able to fold it down when I wear it. So I'll have to try it on and see how many more rows I'll do with the next ball of yarn. And then once that's finished, I can start the second one. And even though I really want to do that and I enjoy knitting on these so much, I will have to focus on the presents, and that's his socks, and that's also the next project. That's my sister's film reel socks, and they should have been finished in November because they were supposed to be a birthday present, but I still haven't finished them. And I decided to knit a pair for everyone in my sister's family for their birthday. And so I should be knitting on her husband's socks, whose birthday is in December. And there's no way I can finish his socks in time, but I at least want to get them started before his birthday. So my plan for this week is finish this sock, start the next film reel socks. Those are the most important priorities this week. So I'll be doing a lot of sock knitting. So I finished one more film reel in these socks. There's one more film reel to come, then I can do the toe and the afterthought heel. So that shouldn't take me too much time. I'll probably spend a lot more time. These have a lot more stitches than these socks. So yeah, lots of sock knitting in my, is it immediate future? I think that's how you say it. Yeah, but that's all the socks. I did not start another pair when I finished the Icelandic socks because I do have to concentrate on those that I'm working on at the moment. So that means we come to the next project, and that's the next mystery gnome, my December gnome that I'm knitting. And just in case you don't want to see what's happening yet, you may have to look away now. I have not knit all the clues that are already out. So last week I showed you the first two knitting clues. Those were these two. And then the next clue that came out, she actually mentioned in the pattern what it was going to be to make the knitting a bit easier. I think it's quite clear what it is. I'm not really holding on here because I haven't sewn it down yet, because she suggests that you do that once everything is finished, and I can adjust the length to how I want it to sit. And then the next clue is this bit. And I don't know what it's going to be. So there were several ideas that my friends had when I showed it to them. But I finally got to knit with color 1 and then a bit of color 2 and 3. And then we were supposed to put color 5 through the live stitches. So no idea what this is going to be. Okay, I'm not showing anything anymore. The last two clues that I could have knit, one of them, I can tell you what I'm supposed to knit, right? Yeah, I'm not showing anything. So I could have knit the beard. That's probably the next thing I'm going to do. And then there was one extra bit of pattern, which was sort of an extra pattern. So it's not part of the gnome, but it's something additional, which is very cute, and I really want to make that, and at some point I'm pretty sure I will. Okay, let's leave it at that. As long as it's still a mystery, maybe I'll only get to knit it once it's not a mystery anymore, but then at least I can talk about it properly. Okay, so that's that. Then the next project I'm showing you is finally another big project out of sock yarn, and it's a pullover that I cast on quite spontaneously. It's not nothing that I had planned for a long time. There are several pullovers that I've been planning for a long time and I do want to cast on, but then sometimes something happens and you completely change your plans. And the thing that happened this time is that I got a book as a present. this time it's not, I did not get the book from the publisher, but a friend of mine bought it because she knew that I really liked it. And yeah, and as it's not by the publisher, I don't have to show you everything, but it is a beautiful book. It's translated from Norwegian. I'm not sure whether there's an English version. Maybe there is, I don't know. But I've actually started knitting this cover pullover. But my favorite pullover in the book is actually this one with the ice bears. I love it. There are children's pullovers as well in the book, and then very nice. I almost did that pullover instead of the one that I did start. Yeah, so it's a really nice book. This is again the pullover I'm knitting, but she always gives several colorways for every design. So that's really nice because it helps you choose colors. So there's one more colorway I can show you. And of course, I chose something completely different. So the book was one reason I cast on this new pullover. But the other reason was that I really wanted to knit something with this yarn. So I think I showed the new colors, the new 8-ply colors that Opal did this year. And I already used this color to knit a hat, and but I really wanted to make something with this color. And because I'm fairly crazy where colors are concerned, I decided to do this color work pullover in this color and this color. And to make sure I do have a bit of a proper contrast, I chose this dark red, which is another Opal color. And I decided to knit the pullover I showed you in these 3 colors. So it's a really crazy idea, and I wasn't 100% sure it was going to work. Sorry. So I decided to start with the sleeve and sort of use that as a gauge swatch and also as a just to try out the colors. And this is what it looks like. And everybody I showed it so far agreed that it's fairly crazy. But I like crazy, so I'm going to continue knitting this. So this is my first sleeve. Sorry about that. So I have, this is just the main color and this 2. And then this is color 2 and 3, so to speak. And then we have all 3 colors mixed in here. This is going to be a really nice, warm, very colorful pullover, and I'm looking forward to it. But it's not a priority because it's just a pullover for myself, and I just started because I really wanted to use the yarn, and I did want to use the book. Last week I did not knit on the Baltic summer shawl again, with the subscription yarn and the pattern battle. And it's a shame really, because as I said, the next parcel is going to come this week. Yeah, but I'll just have to get a move on at some point. We'll see. I did not knit on the Chevrione shawl either, and I did not knit on my Memories blanket, just to let you know. But I did continue knitting on the High Sierra Shawl, one of the Romy shawls I have on the needles at the moment. And that's this modularly constructed shawl. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Anyway, it has either these 1-color lace patterns or the 2-color stripes. With me, it's 2 colors. If you knit as per pattern, you can use mini skeins for these different lace patterns, and you can have more than 2 colors in the stripes. But this is the way I did it. And I finished all the red, all the knitting that's done with the red. So I have 4 of those black stripes with red in between. And now the rest of the shawl is knit with the black yarn. And I weighed my yarns, and I actually used 2/3 of the red yarn, and so far only 1/3 of the black yarn. So I've knit a bit more than 100 grams so far. I had 200-gram balls, so the black one is still fairly big, but as the rows are really long now, once I finish the black edge, it will be a lot smaller. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do all the rows that she gives in the pattern. Maybe I'll make it a bit smaller, but I don't know yet. I'll just keep knitting and looking at it, and then I can make up my mind. That's that. Then I crocheted a little bit, not very much. This is the Talavera blanket. It's a pattern out of the Simply Crochet magazine. They split the pattern into, I forgot whether it was 6 or 7 parts, but by now all the parts have been published, and I crocheted quite a bit, but I've decided it's big enough now. I don't want it to be a lot bigger than this, so I'm just going to add a few more rows because this would not be a nice edging, and I do want to do the last 2 or 3 rounds the way they are written, because that's quite a nice edge, I think. So the only thing I did from last time I showed it to you is finish the light blue round. This is actually the point where it finished, and the yarn was I was really worried that I would have had to start a new ball of yarn, but it just worked out perfectly with just a bit to spare. So those 2 rounds are finished. Now I have to check the pattern to see what happens next, and I really want to be done with this, so I'll see. But it's not a priority again, it's not a present or anything, so I'll see how that goes on. Then we're already at the knit-alongs, and finally I can show you 2 things, because I'm technically running 2 knit-alongs. One of them being the squares for the Viva Vittoria organization, who ask for squares 50 centimeters wide to be sewn together into blankets, and then there'll be this happening in March where they put all the blankets in a public square in Darmstadt, in a German city, and then they sell the blankets and donate the money to organizations who help women who were victims of violence. So that's the topic that they're dealing with. They want to raise awareness to violence against women, and that's why they try and help these organizations. A bit complicated, but if you want to knit or crochet squares, the informations are in the Ravelry group for my channel. So I'm using another 8-ply sock yarn. It's the right yarn for this time of year, so it's nice to be using more of that. Eispalast was the series of 8-ply yarn last year or 2 years ago, I don't know, and I quite like the color, and I decided to do a corner-to-corner crochet square. So a friend of mine did several squares like this to donate, and I quite like the pattern. I've only ever crocheted a project with this pattern once before, which is part of the reason it took me so long to start this, because I forgot how to start. So I had to find some time to sit down and find a video to remind me how that works. But once you get going, it's really easy to do. And as with most crochet patterns, it lies flat by itself. And I think it's quite funny the way the way you crochet changes all the time. And it's fairly loose, and yeah, it's a bit like, it's fairly open, but I think for a blanket that's really nice. Yeah, so I hope to get a whole square out of that ball of yarn, but if not, I'll either end with a different color or start another ball. I still have plenty of yarn in that color. So yeah, that's the beginning of the square. It's not a high priority, but I do want to finish it fairly quickly, because the sooner we send the squares to the organization, the more time they have to finish the blankets. So it'd be good for that not to take too long. The other knit along we're doing is for the projects with I-cords that you can cast on with I-cord, and you can have the I-cords on the sides of your project, and you can cast off with the I-cord, and you can do hangers with I-cord or buttonholes or whatever you can think of, you can put into this knit along. And I started a scarf. This is a 6-ply sock yarn, so it's a bit thinner than the other yarn that I just showed, and I'm knitting a scarf. Did not grow a lot, but at least a little bit. And it's something that I like to just pick up and knit a bit on every now and then when I can't concentrate on my knitting. I just want my fingers busy while I concentrate on other things. So yeah, really enjoy that and look forward to just continuing it. I'm not looking forward to finishing it yet because that's going to take quite some time still. But yeah, quite happy that it keeps growing. So again, this is almost everything I knit and crocheted last week. I did put a little work into my secret project, and I think next Monday is the last Monday before Christmas. So next week I'm going to show you how much I managed to do on that project. I hope to finish it this week. We'll see, but then you'll know what it is. And yeah, but for now, this is everything I'm going to show you today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!